what I gave you, and we went all over it, was the stuff that you got the codes for. Now I'm hoping to show you some things that you shouldn't have. This is on an Air Force base. You can see the plane back there in the corner of the picture, the tip of it. Now, does that look like it's protected?
Yeah.
It sits outside the deals, don't it? Shouldn't there have extended? In other words, it can't be any wider than what they've got it, but there should have been another post put. Also, where is this fill tank at? Where's the 5-gallon fill tank for this thing? There isn't one. And I'll lay you odds there's not a shutoff for that pump. And it's a skid tank.
So my next question, are the IFSAC codes that much different than Ohio fire codes? Or not IFSAC, what is it? What are they, what's the government on?
The Department of Defense.
But the thing of it is, we can't do anything about that. On an Air Force base, I can't touch it.
Right, and that's what.
But I'm
because, like,
trying to show you what not to do.
What did we study from our books in inspector school? Because it's not the Ohio Fire Code. That's not what those books are based on. They're based on.
No, they're based on the International Fire Code.
Okay, I think that's what the military.
And NFPA 30 and all those. But this is, the Air Force doesn't have any codes really. I wanted to show you what was wrong and what you shouldn't have.
Government at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't care.
Well, I'm trying to learn.
And they're, you know, it's like this. I can run into both ends. I can run into both ends of it as I pull up. That shouldn't be. There should be a breakaway. I don't see a breakaway on that hose.
Shouldn't there be a fire extinguisher?
Yeah, there should be a fire extinguisher right there. There's none of those. I mean, you just keep going on and on. This is something that would have been back maybe 20 years ago. Might have gotten by with. Before we started saying no skid tanks. But that's nothing more than skid tank. I'm not going to go over the thing. You've got the important stuff. Now, these are some big above ground tanks. This is back in the Air Force Base again. They have their pumps here. These are the pumps. These are, this one is at least diked. And that one's diked, and this is in with it too, but this one sits by itself. And I don't know if that's double wall or not. It is, there should have still been some posts in front of these. You ever seen idiot guys driving military trucks? Yeah. So there should have been some posts.
Have you ever seen posts that look like they're posts and they're like just the plastic?
Oh yeah.
Where people make it look like it's there and they're not set? I've seen that before. I would always think
Oh,
it's like,
You go to lean on it, you're like,
it's just the plastic, like, come on, man.
Yeah. No, you don't want that. That's a shut off. They happen to have one of those, which is nice. There's one that I had in one of my buildings on Roman Road. You can't
Next
get
to
to
the
it.
marble barrels, man.
Yeah. But you can't get to that. There's all kinds of crap in front of it. So a lot of good it did.
no, that's not working.
At least they marked it. You know?
They know where it's at.
Yeah, it's the same one we looked at before. Still the Air Force Base. They got a fuel tanker sitting right beside a big tank truck. The only thing they're using here is those little orange cones. That try to protect it.
That'll stop a lot of cars.
They do have a fire extinguisher right there at the corner. That's a fire extinguisher. Yeah. Look at these and kind of think these are what we don't want to see out there. At least these are, they've got the dike around them. Now look, they've got posts all the way, well, at least those are too wide apart, those posts. They're supposed to be to where a car couldn't fit between them. So about 4 foot car, filled with concrete. These are all the same. Oh, there's another dike. Now here's the valve I was talking about. This is a big dike. But there's a valve, and there's another picture of it. Just a turn valve. You can use turn valve. You can use.
Hershey chocolate?
Like I said, all I did was just run a piece of plastic pipe through with an end that you could unscrew the front of it to drain it. So if water gets into it, that's all it's for. If there's fuel there, they have to suck it out with a back truck. And that's like $1,000 just to have the back truck come. And that doesn't count what he sets up. I like this picture. Just for your knowledge, see this, when you see a truck like this from the rear, that's gasoline.
Oh, yeah.
When you see the ribs, this is going to be like waste oil and stuff that's very heavy. That's why the ribs are, and it's usually a smaller tank. It's not a big round tank. When you see these with the dome ends, high pressure. I don't need my goggles to see these 3 tanks if I can get to the end of it. Just for your knowledge. So it's, you know, as we're pulling up on a scene, any of these trucks I would see, I would tend to back off because like that chemical one, you don't know what the hell's in it. And I'd stay, you know, not downwind, upwind, really apart. I'd stay away. And that torpedo one, that's another one that can go anywhere. And we've had a couple of gasoline tankers. Well, we just had one here, what, a month ago? That wrecked on the bridge up in Dublin, wasn't it? Done a little damage too, didn't it? Nice little fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got
Right,
it
going
on
too
bit
fast.
work.
Going too fast.
Yep.
But
That's
stand
okay.
back. The fuel will burn off eventually.
Yep.
Yep. And fuel in a gasoline tanker, like if that truck's upright, or even if it's laying over on its side, it only burns an inch an hour. So you might want to think, get the foam truck in here, even if you have to call one from the airport, and let foam that sucker real good, and then go up with a dry chemical extinguisher and hit what little spots are left. Because otherwise you're going to be there a while. That's just more on tanks. Okay, the big tank, that's what you see like over at the refineries. That top usually has an inner lid. Now that top lid you probably won't see move, but there's an inner lid that moves up and down with the fuel. And those can handle 1 million gallons of fuel. And there can be 2 or 3 of these in one earthen dike. It only has to do one. They only plan on one leaking, I guess. I've always wondered if it's on fire, why doesn't it catch the other one?
Are the Sunoco ones over there at Wilson and Broad diked like that?
The other night. Yep. They had a leak up there, it's been several years back, but when Franklin's engine come up over the hill, it actually shut off from the fumes. The engine shut down. The fumes were so strong.
They had a fire back in the 60s there.
Oh yeah, that one, Sunoco's been not too good. They've had 2 or 3 fires at the one at Georgesville and Fisher. I think that's Marathon. And they've burnt that dock off there a couple times.
Any part of that?
This is another one. I want my dike, I want my poles out a little farther so people can't get right up against that tank. It does have the spill control. It is not a skid tank. It could be double wall. So I want another post out into here and one over here so that car can't get that freaking close. And I thought I could see, maybe I can see it on mine better. Yeah, right, you can't see it very well, but right here is the relief valve where it goes up and lets the fumes out. So that's not a bad tank, other than, do you leave the nozzle down the ground so in case it leaks, it can leak all over the ground like that? It's supposed to be hung up. So there's one thing I'd get him on, you know. Hang it up, no fire extinguisher. And I need the post out a little farther. Other than that, he's probably got a pretty good setup there. These are at Sunset Cemetery. And I had them built today, but they've been in for 15, 20 years. And the only reason I got them to put them in, there's a big green barn that kind of sits close to the road. Well, between the bay doors, they used to have a pump. And they had these in-ground tanks at the time. And I went there, I was doing a regular inspection. And I went there, and when I walked in the door to go inside to look and see where they had stuff stored and stuff, do an inspection. I go, I smell gasoline. And I looked all around, I couldn't see any spill. And they're out pumping fuel. So I walked out there and I asked the guy, I said, are you spilling gasoline out here right now? Oh, no, that pump leaks. It hits up against the building as it comes out, squirts the gasoline on, runs down to the footer. Guess what? They shut down real quick and pulled the tanks. And now that footer sits with gasoline all around. And they said they weren't gonna worry about it, so you can't make them clean that up. Only if they go to sell the property. So we'll never sell the property, because there'll always be a cemetery. But you can see I got posts protecting it. That is diked for that size. It's diked for the bigger tank. They have the fills. Those are double wall tanks also. I had them dike it just because they're idiots. Oh, those guys out there like that, they didn't care whether it was squirting out fuel. You know, that's just something else for us to fix. Oh, what dumb. But and one of them's diesel, the other one's gasoline. So one's for mowers, one's for the diesel trucks to go around and stuff. Backhoes.
Did you ever look at the fuel tank over at Hamlet Township Station 171? Never been there.
No.
Don't.
You can see the fill valve, you can see the vent pipes out there standing up. Everything was done very nice. And on the other side of that brown fence is where we put the plastic piece pipe out. They actually built this dike themselves. All I did was tell them how big it had to be. And they built the dike. So all they had in it was a few dollars in concrete because they did it themselves. Which, nice job. It works out fine. It's still there. We're not going to read those. We've done them all. Convault. This sits right down here on Main Street, East Main, at the Verizon building.
It's Frontier.
Okay, whatever it's called now. You can see it. It sits outside.
Sorry, Donna.
Yeah.
If they have this kind of tank,
What'd you say, Tony?
you don't have to protect it. It's a concrete vault, double vault. And you can't even shoot that with a .50 caliber. That vault will protect it.
I
So.
feel like it's worth a shot.
And it says it's 500 gallons on it. It's there to run the generator. Now this tank doesn't have the 5-inch fill, but I'm not gonna fret it. I mean, I didn't worry about it. Because that fill is what that silver thing is up there.
What's that wall to the right? Just the wall of the building? Or?
No, it's just a block wall.
Block wall that they built, just so that you don't see it from the street.
Oh, okay.
Because I was doing the inspection in there, and I happened to walk, you know, you're walking around the room, that was when I was doing all the step offs of the building. And I walked around and I said, what is in there? And I opened up the fence, and here sits Convault. I ain't seen one of these in a while. But this is what a lot of fire departments put in outside too, because it is pretty well protected. I'm just trying to show you some of the things that are,
Does that meet the same things, having to have protection around it?
no, that big concrete one, no, it doesn't have to, because it, like I said, you take 50 caliber bullet and you ain't gonna pierce it. So they don't have to, but a lot of fire departments go ahead and put the post because the guys are driving 44,000-pound trucks. And there again, we can take out doors and things, so. This one, do you see, it's sitting on a 6-inch curb. These are skid tanks. There is no buckets for 5 gallons catch. There's probably no secondary shutoff. There's no post protection, so there's a lot here in a fire extinguisher. And they got, you can see that they're doing snow removal, at least. And what you can't see, and I don't know why, I can't remember what this was, but this is a walkway that goes down underground on the other side of these. You know, I'd be writing this one up. Now, if it is in a place where it's confined, I guess we could allow it, but they gotta add some stuff to this and fix it. They need the spill tanks Wanna know what's got shut-offs? Are those single or double wall tanks? You know, I want some and I want some protection put down out there so that they can't run into them.
Snow plow's not efficient enough.
Huh?
The snow plow's not efficient enough.
No. Snow plows and the ones that have the forks that come out on them, you know, those are terrible for these tanks.
That's a
They-
skid tank too.
Yeah. For skid tanks. These are definitely skids. There was my other drawing, let's see. Okay, this same thing again, this is on the other side of Hagen Sullivan, BP's. Same way with now you can't see it in yours, and I can't see it in mine either, but here's a post, and there is one out here, because each island has them. So they have their protection, this is what you want to take off, they should have a key inside to do it, let them do it. I always have the guy come out, he takes a panel off, because then he can patch the rest of them, get it back on, I don't have to stand there and watch him, you know? That's my deal, but I check, you know, if there's, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 at least, we're gonna do 2 of them. We're gonna do 2. These are, Mike was asking me about some of the stations that the pump island runs that way. They'll put pollets of, I've seen mulch, I've seen antifreeze there. As long as it's on the flat ground, it's not on this island in any way, there's nothing that stops them from doing it. Okay, if this was, and this might be a gravity tank one, here's where they're gonna fill it. And there should be another plug. This is vent pipe, but there should be another plug in this, and that's where they're gonna stick it if they're sticking it, and there would be a thicker spot down here for it. And if this is gravity, this is gonna sit up higher than this sits. So that it all runs back downhill and back into the tank. If it's a pressure pipe, they don't care how it goes, because they're measuring pressure in the line. And that's what all new installations have to be. This is just to give you guys some ideas of what it looks like. So most of the places have 10,000 gallon tanks. Now they might have 2 10,000 gallon tanks for like regular, probably only have 1 for high test, and then maybe another one for diesel. But like I say, on Broad Street there, it was every other day that they were getting loads of fuel. That's the same picture we showed before, only this shows you the nice belly pan underneath that you need to look at. You're going to secure it to the island. The pump needs to be secured and the break-off needs to be secured. Same picture that I showed you before, same shear valve, bucket. Tank lids. You can pretty much tell which ones get moved all the time. You can look at them. Some of these big ones probably never get moved. There wouldn't be any sense, but the ones up there where the white and red's at, they're marked because that's where they're filling at. And they're opening it. The silver ones there at the end, where you see the yellow thing blocking it, those are all the fill pipes. So there's only 2 tanks, because there's only 2 fill pipes. Or 2 vent pipes, I mean, not fill pipes, vent pipes. I'm just trying to give you guys some ideas of things that you're looking at. Here, we've got the nice pump island. I can't tell you where it's at. I don't remember.
Speedway.
Yeah, it's a speedway, but I'm not, oh, it's the one of Murray-Hill Drive. That's it. It's the one of Murray-Hill Drive. They have the posts. These little things here on the ground, this stuff, no big problem. A lot of times it's just water. They don't even put antifreeze in it. Now, this is where I found that they'll put some pallets once in a while. Speedway doesn't do it, but I know Thornton's does down the street. He does a lot. Breakaways right there for this long arm. Those should all be attached. Like I say, the biggest thing I've noticed is that I'll go in and a pump and a half. It's taking forever to fill. It's because
Breakaways, that's someone drives off with the nozzle in there.
yeah, it takes about, they say 200 pounds pressure. I don't know what that means exactly. I just know that a car can pull it off, but I can't stand there and go like this. That's about all I can tell you. I can't jerk it off, but why would I want to jerk it off?
Well, sure you can jerk it off.
Just do try a little harder, Terry.
I guess.
Just get recorded.
This is the Speedway, same thing.
You might want to turn the volume off on it.
Beat that one out.
Canopies, if you ever notice, none of them are ever sprinklered, but they don't tie them to the building. If they tie them to the building, then they'd have to maybe sprinkle them. But since they're not tied to the building, and they're all steel anyway, most of them are steel or aluminum, something, they're really not that combustible. Gotta have an attendant there. This is a violation one. What they're getting at here is that this trash can is blocking that fire extinguisher. It's not blocking the pump, it's blocking the fire extinguisher. And it's not mandatory that all fire extinguishers have to be in a box like that. Let me go back. That box, they could put, you've probably just seen them with the red cover over the fire extinguisher just to keep the snow and stuff off of it. They just have to be hung. But if they want it to be a little nicer, most of the filling stations have them in cabinets.
It's always
Do
good.
they have an extinguisher at every island?
50-foot travel distance. This is what I always made them do, 2A, 20 BC. So if that's in the middle, and they have two island more out here, it probably covers the whole island. That one extinguisher.
That'd be a certain size.
Yeah, it's a 2A, 20 BC, and a lot of times you can't buy a 20 BC, it ends up being a 40 BC, because that's what they sell.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it was like the Shell station down here was trying to buy Sam's Club fire
Bought like
extinguishers.
20
Yeah,
Sam's Club fire
yeah,
extinguishers,
yeah.
and then wrote the date on them in Sharpie.
Yeah,
The best was the yarn holding the one pin in. I was like, that doesn't work.
this is the Sunoco on West Broad, and used to be the tanks were back here. Now the tanks are right here. And the reason how you can see it is because here's the vent pipes. Vent pipes used to be back there. They had a major leak that they had to remove them, and they put brine-filled tanks in here to where on the they were red tanks. I can remember that, the fiberglass, and this brine filled in them, and it had a level on it, and it showed like this much was full, this much was when it could go down to, and this was all within the deals. He's got 4 tanks in the ground. They're all 10,000. Well, all of them except the kerosene tank, because he put a kerosene tank in. I think it was just a few thousand gallons. But all the rest of them were nice, pretty red ones. Those pumps at Sunoco, when they did this, and this has been back a while, those were $100,000 a piece. Pumps are not cheap, especially when you got all the credit card reader in it. The way to transmit back inside, a lot of them even have a speaker so they can talk directly with the person. I mean, they're so sophisticated. It's not like the old one, well, like what he's got down here.
Is that why they can't keep paper in them? They're just too complicated.
Yeah, that's usually, most time I don't want paper.
Cashier has receipts.
You want a receipt?
Yeah. Gotta go inside so we can see.
Yeah.
them Pop into them.
But this happened back when Jerry Billman owned it. He doesn't own it anymore. I threw this in there because there's supposed to be somebody standing with that truck. He talked about it. I've had it happen where they go inside and all of a sudden something happens and there's fuel running all down the driveway.
He's on the other side with a smoke break.
Yeah.
Taking a leak.
Okay. Okay, we got any questions, guys?
Did you,
Think you
did
can
you
go?
go inspect the fuel thing out at the Bolton, at the airport?
No, that's Palmerston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
We
well,
use,
they actually don't have, they have a fuel truck. Now, what's the deal, like, say like them, they have a fuel truck that they drive to the airplanes and fuel them.
used to be, Galbraith had one. And there are no if that truck never leaves that facility,
It doesn't.
then it doesn't come under the state's rules. It comes under the FAA rules, and there are no rules. There's where the problem gets into, because if that thing's leaking, I can tell them to fix it, but I can't take them to court to make them fix it.
Because the other two places I flew out of.
Now,
they
as
both
soon
had
as it
above
hits the
ground tanks.
pavement though, now it's under state regulation and we can make it work. There's codes out there to make that do, but see, all the ones out at the airport, they never leave because they bring their fuel into big tanks and then they fill off of it.
Yeah, they had one jet fuel and one was
Yep, and
100
I
LL.
bet another truck comes in and fills theirs. So it's not, there's no tags, there doesn't have to be tags on it, as long as it never leaves the property.
And the other two airports, they did have above ground tanks where you had to pull up to them and then pull the hose out.
Those are old, but they're under FAA rules and there's not too much we can
Then they
do
had
about it.
another one that was a little portable tank that we pushed around with the lawnmower. Just so you had it grounded to the airplane, that's all that matters.
That's all I got. Here's your, if you don't have any other questions, but at least you can use all that information for doing filling
You check
stations and
the fuel
understand them.
tank, you throw it out on the ground.